How's it going?
I am doing quite well, Brother Cortex. It's good to see you on camera again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
But from one scruffy nerd herder to another, I'm doing all right, which is a term that will come into play in a short bit as we go along.
Yeah. I had to play the old XCOM Legacy original soundtrack. If you're familiar with XCOM, definitely a really, really good game.
I'm familiar with the games. I've never played them, however, myself.
Turn-based, squad-based game.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I never got around to actually playing the games. But
they're actually free, and I could send you a link to it.
Do it.
And I'm 100% sure your computer can run them.
And here's the weird thing is Wednesday was kind of a weird laboratory experiment / eye-opening for me, a revelation. My oldest daughter had her first day of middle school Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
She's out the door by 6:45 in the morning. My older boy, Wednesday morning, got on, "Hey, Sam, I am a filthy fuck. Hence why I've got so many kids."
Very filthy. The filthiest.
You're damn right. My older son, Wednesday morning, got on the bus and headed to kindergarten. I love my boy, but he almost broke his mother's heart, because when he got like behind the other kids lined up to get up onto the bus, we're saying, "We love you, Dennis. Bye. Have a good day." He didn't even look back at us to wave. He just started jibber jabbering with the kid in front of him. I'm like, "You're forgotten. All right, this is kind of excellent." And he had a great first day. And I took his younger brother, Culling, for his first day, taking Dennis's place at Miss Jessica's daycare.
Mm-hmm.
When I got home, it was just me, my wife, the dogs, and the little baby, Malia. And she was tired from the car ride, taking Colin to daycare. She ended up passing out. And then my wife headed to work. So it was just me and the dogs, and it was quiet in the house. And I was just like, what is this madness?
It's unsettling.
I didn't realize how much I've come to rely on the normalcy of chaos in my house. And even with just Colin's not at daycare today because Miss Jessica's son, Hank, also started kindergarten. He had a hard first day. So she wants to be prepared to go pick him up in the event he has a bad second day. We figured no problem, not an issue. But Colin is, when he's not fighting with his brother and running around being a maniac, a pretty chill kid. And Malia's down for her daily nap. It's kind of quiet. It's manageable. The chaos is manageable. I'm not normally in, and here's what's really screwing with my head. Monday morning, that quiet is going to settle in again. And that's how it's going to be during weekdays from now on. My wife and I have Monday, Tuesday off together. We can actually get some shit done around this house. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings, when Colin is off at daycare, holy crap, the quiet. And we'll be able to do some reading, do some writing, and cull the nerd and do some deep diving with, Brother Cortex.
Wrong. I was about to say wrong spot there.
Sorry.
You got it.
I gotta remember, camera, stage left. But yeah, it's an adjustment, but it's a good adjustment.
Let's see if I can do it right. Yep.
There you go. See, you understand stage direction. So, where do we want to begin with calling the nerd all the news and pop culture entertainment space?
So much has happened.
There's video games. Yep. There's video games. There's movies. There's comic books. There's regular.
Did you hear about the Borderlands movie that came out? and how awful it was. I can't even bring myself to watch it, dude.
Here's the weird thing for me is I only heard about the movie, first heard about it a few days before it was set to come out in theaters. I hadn't heard anything about it previously because I'm not a diehard fan of the series. I played the first 2 Borderlands games. I found them to be entertaining and charming in their own way, but I was never a deep, hardcore fan of them. And then
I played the first game all the way through, and the second game I never got around to. The third game never got around to. But I mean, I know enough of the lore that I know enough that you don't fucking cast Kevin Hart as Roland.
Kevin Hart?
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't Roland, remind
He's
me.
He's a muscly, beefy fucking soldier guy.
He's the big, huge, like muscle bound.
No, that's a Brick.
Oh, that's Brick. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But Roland was, I imagine, tall, right?
Kevin tall. Like he was like Terry Crews tall.
Yeah, he barely doesn't qualify as a fucking dwarf. So how are you going to put him in that role?
Bad, bro. Yeah, then they had, I forget who they cast. It was an older woman that they cast for, what was her name? It was the Siren character. I can't think of her name, though. She was the redhead. I can't think of her name. Lilith. They had this actor. It was.
I'm going to quick look it up.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up, too. But I know the name of the character, though. I just can't remember the actor that they had. Oh, yeah, Kate Blanchett. Why the fuck would you have her as like a 20-year-old character?
Hey, props to her in her career in that she is actually a talented actress, but
she's not 20 years old.
No, like I have to wonder, like, did she just have some bills that needed to get paid? She needed a payday. Was like, give me money, give me money. I got to pay the mortgage.
Let me just kind of show a comparison who she's supposed to like resemble, and
sure.
You'll understand. Yeah, you'll understand why I'm like, why would you have her as Lilith? So, if I'm not mistaken, oh, that's perfect right there. I just found a picture. Lilith is like in her 20s, like super young, and she was supposed to be like the flashy, hot character in the game. Explain that to me.
How do I don't want to get you kicked off of YouTube. How can I explain this? Modern audience. That
dude, you could see the wrinkles in her face, bro.
Is what you get. Look.
Oh, and she's not even got the tattoos either.
No, none of the ink work, which is a certain amount of artistic, stylistic choices.
Her eyes aren't even the same color either.
No, it's a different eye color. there are colored contact lenses. They're one of the cheapest physical effects things you can get for film production. Man. Couldn't even do that. Use some henna ink on her lower neck to reproduce the design there. You've got makeup artists, don't you, folks? How could you not at least get something a little bit more accurate in detail?
I didn't realize it was that bad, but I guess it was.
And dude, you could find that denim jacket with that exterior lining padding probably at fucking TJ Maxx for $8 to $12. What kind of shoestring nonsense? But this is like The Producers. Have you ever seen that? It's a movie with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick. They are basically con men who they discover that there's a tax loophole where if you put on an artistic production and it's a loss, you can write off the losses for a tax benefit. So they create a musical called It's Springtime for Hitler in order to tank themselves to try and get the tax benefit as a fraud scheme. I think the folks at Borderlands tried to do the same damn thing. They said, this is going to suck. Let's just get out with the lost lead as best we can, rake in those big bucks of tax incentives of
There's
we lost
Roland.
money on this. Yeah, for God's sakes, look, Kevin Hart, bless his heart, he is a very energetic guy. He's a very
It's funny at times.
I think he's a talented comedian. Yes.
Yeah.
He's hilarious. But he does
they
not
try
have
to cast him as like a serious character in the movie as well.
Why would you make him serious?
Oh, Roland was a serious character.
No, I understand that, but then yet
That's what I'm saying.
Further inquiry into why would you choose a guy to play this part who is known as a funny, ha, yuck, yuck guy who has the stature of who has basically all the stature of a gremlin, and try to make him cast into the part of a dour, very serious.
He said gremlin.
He does. I'm sorry. He's got the stature of a gremlin. There's no other way to put it. I think he's hilarious, but I also giggle every time I see the gremlin in the old Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's in the Air Force fighter jet and little gremlin is trying to sabotage the thing. I suspect diabolical sabotage. I'm all over the place today. I'm a little energetic. I apologize for being hectic and all over the place, but I've been looking forward to today. Why would you pick this guy?
Yeah, again, I mean, here's another thing I'm about to show. Like Tannis, another young character that they casted an older actor with. And I for the life of me, I don't understand it. They used Jamie Lee Curtis to play Tannis. And white hair and all. And she's got like brunette type hair. But yeah, I'm about to show that off too. So hold up.
This comparison is going to be brutal.
Oh, trust me. Strap yourself in. Her hair is the same color as the, in the left.
Maybe they
in
were.
The movie.
Okay. So wait, they didn't even dye Jamie Lee Curtis's hair for the film?
Her hair's still white.
Were they trying to say, hey, kids, this is Tannis's grandma adventuring across the land? What the fuck is this?
Give me a moment, and I will show that off.
I have to wonder, do they just want it to fail?
It failed miserably.
And there's another smaller part of my brain going, well, wait a minute. The original Borderlands game was a cult hit. It generated a sizable audience of followers, of diehard gamers behind it. It gathered steam enough that it propelled the studio to immediately begin development on a sequel. Yeah. It is
a shot from in the movie.
Oh my Lord. Why? But
that's Tiny Tina behind her, by the way. Oh, which I heard is very, 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 very fucking annoying in the movie. I didn't get that far.
Well, to be fair, Tiny Tina was kind of an annoying character.
No, I mean way more annoying than she should be. Like, it's way more announced than the game.
What the fuck? But anyway, what comes to mind for me is this was a game, this is a property that is much beloved by gamers, by the sort of gaming crowd of customers who they have spent years and years castigating, lecturing, denigrating, and browbeating, screaming, "You're an istophobic phobophobe if you don't buy or like X, Y, or Z or agree with our ideological, socio-political bents and ideas." So here is a property that audience, people like you and myself, have actually come to enjoy, appreciate, and love.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a simple
Once
game.
again,
It's an action role play game where
right,
um, you go through the world, collect as many weapons as possible, but we already know they're all randomly generated weapons.
right, it's procedural generation.
Yeah. The
But my
problem that I have with the game is the company behind the game, which is Gearbox Software, which was formerly known, well, if I'm not mistaken, 3D Realms. If I'm not mistaken, 3D Realms is still a thing, but it was like an amalgamation of like 3D Realms into a new company of Gear Software or Gearbox Software, my bad, which is owned by Randy Pitchford, the man who claimed to have the license and still has the license of Duke Nukem.
Oh, okay, okay. Um,
Well, he had a meltdown on Twitter and was talking about how the games were essentially comparable to the Beatles and the success rate of the Beatles, that not every album or song was a one hit or like a hit. He was trying to compare himself in the same light as the Beatles with this movie and having a meltdown while doing so on Twitter. Mind you, his track record with Duke Nukem was also very, very terrible.
hit or miss would be putting it politely.
Yeah,
What
everybody hated Duke Nukem forever.
what I was trying to get at, and actually what Pitchford's grumbling and pissing and moaning there kind of helps highlight, is there has been this consistent drive to take intellectual properties and franchises that folks like you and I love and appreciate, and to drag them through the mud, to poison them, to taint them. Instead of creating their own thing, these people take something that has become a beloved property and decided, we're going to strip from you the thing you love. We're going to taint it. We're going to mutate it. We're going to throw it in an FEV vat. And the result that comes out, we're going to hurl at you and say, don't worry about it trying to eat your face. That's just a side effect. Fuck you, people.
So I have the Twitter post right now. I'm currently looking at it. I don't know if he took it down or not, but the account is at Duval Magic Randy Pitchford.
Even if he did take it down, the Wayback Machine is.
Oh yeah, no, it's everywhere.
The internet is always and perpetual. That's why you can still. I'm sure.
So, and I quote here. I'm about to read this off. I sincerely do not think the movie stinks. I enjoyed it and I'm super glad that it exists. I don't know if I agree with nothing close to the games, depending on what you mean by that. If you're saying that my friends and I have done a better job with the games than this unbelievable cast and crew of filmmakers did with the movie, I am very flattered and happy to live in that world. I am close to it. It seems about half the people who actually see the movie seem to like it, and half the people who see it don't like it. That's cool. All opinions are valid. The Beatles had more number one hits than any other band in history, and their hit rate was less than 25%. That's how it is with entertainment. Gotta keep swimming. End quote.
Okay. As an artist, I can appreciate a little bit where he's coming from because
I don't have that because of my bias against him.
right. Not everyone, not everything that an artist creates is going to be an equal creation to every other project that they put out there. I got to tell you, I have written a lot of short stories in my time, and a couple of them were real clunkers. I've had a couple of novels that I have written over the years that were definitely not the most solid efforts I've ever completed. However, what I do when I recognize that I've got a book or a short story that just isn't really that good, you know what I do 90% of the time? I don't publish it. I scrap it. I say I fucked up. What was wrong with me? I
Is
find
that
the
what we
one or
call a
two-
rough draft?
Yes, a rough or a second or a third draft.
Right.
I usually don't settle until I'm on my fourth or fifth draft.
Right.
And even with short stories. But what I think the problem with Pitchford here is he got so accustomed to just people probably bowing down and saying, "Please, sir, would you like me to toss your salad clockwise or counterclockwise?" That he decided he didn't have to put in the effort of actually making sure that there's some goddamn quality control in the finished product.
Yeah.
So I can't. Biggest example. And again, I only have myself to refer to here, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to. Zombie. My boy is really loving the cartoon zombies.
For those who don't know, this is the guy we're talking about.
Yeah.
He's a greasy scumbag.
This was about 5 years back. I had written a full-length novel, an Amelia City story, a novel-length Amelia City story. And actually, no, this is like 7 years ago. It was approximately 87,000 words, which is about the length of a slightly heavier modern day novel, especially in the horror genre. And I edited it, and I redrafted it, and I edited it again, and I did a final draft. I let it sit for about 2 months on my computer, untouched, unconsidered. I went back and I tried reading it as just a reader. And I wanted to punch myself in the face as hard as humanly possible about a quarter of the way in. It was still awful. I still had inconsistencies. I still had terrible mechanics. I had a couple of characters who just were the most wooden things I've ever created. And I've built furniture in my life. So that should tell you how bad these characters were. It was not my best effort, but the creature, the primary monster, and the methodology in which it terrorized and took out its victims was one of my better creations in quite some time. So I took him out. I put him in a slightly different environment, shortened it up, and made out of that 87,000 word novel a 6,000 word short story. And it worked. And it was one of my better Amelia City shorts. Sometimes you have to do that. You have to take this thing that you have put a great deal of blood, sweat, and tears and effort into and hold it up to the light of day and say, behold, this is still a piece of shit. And you got to tear it apart, find the little nugget of corn that didn't digest properly that can be used for something, and make something decent out of it. Plant that kernel in the ground and grow a whole new cob stalk. Pitchford could learn a thing or two from somebody who most people have never heard of.
Well, see, that's the thing is like every game that I've come across that Randy Pitchford's been a part of are already belonging to already existing IPs. So like he's like, I guess, taken like a license and like had like part ownership of it, like such as like Half-Life 1. And
Okay.
he's done like Half-Life 1, and obviously Borderlands came out. That was his own thing. Duke Nukem, like it was Duke Nukem 3D that he had worked on. but Duke Nukem was already a thing before that.
Right. So
Um,
maybe he's like, is it maybe like his particular area of development or creativity is he's not a starter, he's not a self-starter. He takes
yeah,
something
pretty
and
much. He's not a self-starter in any of the ideas, but he'll take the idea and then run with it.
okay.
So, like, it's
Now,
not a bad thing because you had Half-Life Opposing Force, Half-Life Decay,
right,
Half-Life Blue Shift,
right,
which were all side stories from
right. And one of the
Gordon
things
Freeman.
I'm going to spend a great deal of time in an upcoming soon, either solo stream of my own or a video. I'm not sure yet. There are some people who are immensely talented at taking a previously established property and creating something tremendous out of it. And I have a personal example that I've been just losing my mind at how good it actually was. And it's this.
Oh, wow. Friday the 13th.
Church of the Divine Psychopath by Scott S. Phillips. It took me forever to track down an electronic copy of this book. And I've told you before about the website or the service I go to get books pretty consistently. I use credits because I helped test the site and the service. So I get free books routinely. This was not available as a free download. I still had to pay out $15 to get this because it is extremely rare. A physical copy, on average, in fair condition, will run you $500 to $700.
Oh, wow.
They only printed 55,000 copies of this book worldwide. Nobody thought it would go anywhere. It was just a tie-in product to hold on to the license of the property from the publisher.
Mm.
And I sat for the last week and I read it. And guess what? It was actually really fucking good. But that's for a matter for another day.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I derailed us.
No. I mean, we're here to talk about all kinds of different things. From the Borderlands movie to some other things that are going on, like Warhammer and the Tides.
Oh my God, the picture. Before
Yeah.
you sent that to me in Discord, I had already seen a couple of screenshots of this.
I watched the actual episode and it was very rough. It was cool watching the Custodes on screen, at least killing things. Like, as we've never had that. It's the first Custodes on screen.
Oh, really? So this is like brand new.
And Silent Sister, because we've never had a Sisters of Silence on screen either.
That's pretty
or
cool.
the Arbitus, which are like Inquisitor, like police, essentially. Like they kind of check everybody for being heretical and try to find signs of heretical like taint.
So they're like MPs,
essentially, but a little more over the top.
Well, as most things in Warhammer are.
They're armed with really big shotguns. And they look like Judge Dredd. They're pretty cool looking.
Sentence complete.
Yeah. I am the law.
I am the law. No,
Yeah.
you're not. You're Sylvester Stallone. And quite frankly, the one that came later that was panned was actually good. So get the fuck out.
Judge Dredd. Yeah, or Dredd 3D.
The Keith Urban one was actually
Carl Urban. You said Keith Urban.
What? That's a country singer, isn't it?
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with me?
That's fine, but
too much caffeine. I'm too wired.
The only thing I'm going to touch on as far as Randy Pitchford, though, and it's only like my final thought on it, is Randy Pitchford was the type of guy who was flaunting the fact that he had the licensing to Duke Nukem. I mean, he would go to like Q&As and like get in front of a bunch of people and talk on a microphone. He was like, oh, at least I'm the guy that's got the licensing to Duke Nukem, and Duke Nukem Forever hadn't come out yet. It's been talked about, delayed after delay, and then they had like a couple like sneak teasers that didn't really show anything, and you get this little message. It would say when it's done. It was like a little joke.
There's development hell, and then there was that thing, which, are you familiar with the mythology of the Tower of Tartarus?
I am not.
The Tower of Tartarus is the grand cathedral tower that resides in the city of Pandemonium, which is the capital city of hell. In the tower, between the 300th and the 600th level of the Tower of Tartarus is what is known as the frozen waste. Time doesn't move in the frozen waste. I think Randy Pitchford and the folks who developed Duke Nukem Forever spent a great deal of time trudging through that central portion of the Tower of Tartarus.
Well, it was him and James Broussard that basically kept delaying and taking ideas from different games and trying to add on the other ideas into this game. And they just kept on, like, I think, yeah, at one point they took like what was it, ID's Quake engine, and they were working on it for a while. Then they scrapped the project and started all over again with another like engine. And it was just, you said development hell. It's beyond development hell.
Why would you? Never mind. I'm not a video game developer. I don't understand how the thought process to that goes. So while I want to sit here and browbeat the gentleman for that decision, I don't think I'm quite in an expert enough position to say, that I would do things differently. But I will say that when you're on a timeline and people expect something from you, you just do the fucking work. All right? Get through it. Finish the product. And then play test it. And if you decide, oh, crap, at least you've got the first draft to work off of.
Allow me to bestow upon you a awesome trailer that came out 17 years ago, which was Duke Nukem Forever back then versus Duke Nukem Forever that came out 13 years ago. And they're both very short trailers, so.
Okay.
But you're going to be blown away when I show you this. You're going to be like, what happened? Oh, here we go. Oh, and by the way, Duke Nukem Forever, the 2001 build leaked. And they were trying to keep it like a secret. Like, it was the one that everybody wanted to play. Well, a build of that leaked. And now there is a team, well, a couple teams, restoring the game as a full game to play.
That's pretty cool.
It's like, kind of like in parts, because it was an E3 demo. It wasn't like a full-fledged game. Well, from what we were given, there's things to work with to make it a full game.
They've got the proper ingredients. They just haven't baked it yet.
Oh, it's still in a playable state. I mean, you could play a couple levels here and there, but the fact of the matter is, like, it was incomplete. But you could still play around with the NPCs, the guns, everything. All right, well, here we go. This is the 2001 trailer when they were talking about Duke Nukem Forever.
He's really pissed off.
We're all gonna die.
Duke, the situation has deteriorated. It appears they have the president. The Earth Defense Force has been compromised, and I'm afraid you can't trust anyone.
Hey, pal, what are you gonna do? Save the world all by yourself?
That came out in 2001.
Okay.
I said James Broussard. It's George Broussard, but yeah.
Visually, obviously, clunky as shit, but that's by current standards. And even with that aside, it looked crazy, like true Duke Nukem style, absolute craziness, which would have been, I think,
it would have been amazing for that year.
perfectly in keeping with the tone of the franchise. I mean, there's people today even who still play the original Half-Life, and it didn't look any worse than that. But the just terrible voice acting, also again in keeping with the spirit of the franchise, like that would have been so delicious to play.
It would have been perfect,
right? You could have just gone out with your head held high, saying, "Yes, it was weird. Yes, it was campy as shit and kitsch over the top, but that's Duke, baby."
But it would have been a classic, dude.
Perfect.
It would have been an absolute classic. I mean, people would have still been playing that to this day if it came out back then.
Why did they scrap that?
No idea. Well, I can't say no idea because George Broussard was so convinced he could make his game so good and so better than other games. They kept just taking ideas from other games and trying to make this like ultimate perfect game. But
what you end up with though, when you try something like that, is
they just kept getting held back.
Right, you end up with a hodgepodge of absolute nonsense where you've got all these different varying components that not only do they not create a cohesive whole, but none of the components even works halfway well on their own.
No.
I am reminded of a game for the Nintendo 64 called The Mystical Adventures of the Mystical Ninja Goemon 64, based on a long-standing platforming action game series that was very popular in Japan, also known as Ganbare Goemon. And there was a Goemon 64 game that utilized the standard kind of side-scrolling action-adventure mechanic for the majority of the gameplay, but also introduced these kind of giant robot battles that were kind of inspired by Voltron and Power Rangers, the giant robo battles of those shows and the cartoons. And it was actually really well done. There were only 5 or 6 of those segments in the game, but there were only 5 or 6 of them, and they were really beautifully done. They initially had wanted to make those like half the game, but the people designing the game said, look, if we're going to do that, it won't fit on a cartridge for the Nintendo 64. And we're already contracted with Nintendo to produce and develop this game for that hardware.
Oh, man.
So
you're bringing up Nintendo.
What they did was they took that limitation and they worked within it and said, we can only do a handful of these battles in the game based on the hardware limitations. Let's make them as clean and crisp as possible. And to this day, I can go downstairs to my little emulation stick and plug that game in and play it and love it. It's fun. It's not overly complex. It's a joy to play. And those giant robo battle sequences are like, they're highlights. They're not, oh, this is just something that's going to be garbage that I have to suffer through for a few minutes. They're highlights of the gameplay. They actually enhance the overall experience of playing that game. Konami at that time knew what they were doing with limitations. It was beautiful. Here, it looks like they had limitations, sure, but it would have worked.
Oh, flawlessly, it would have worked. To me, like playing like FPS games, that would have been a perfect FPS game. Hands down, it would have been for that time.
Right.
It would have been a steady competitor towards like Half-Life, I even think.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what the visual style kind of reminded me of, was that first Half-Life game.
Mhm.
Did you want that
So-
on, buddy?
Here's what we got in return as opposed to the 2001 build of the game. Before I play this, by the way, oh, yeah, they censored it, but there's, I don't know why they did this. Don't ask me. I don't know. But you could go into a bathroom in this game and literally pick up shit and throw it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they put it in the game. They thought fans want to play with shit. I don't know.
Quite literally toilet humor.
Yeah. Mind you, there is some nudity, but it's censored. This is what
They used to tell stories of a man who saved the world. A man whose very presence sent aliens running back to their motherships. A man who disappeared without a trace. When the invaders came back, they came back angry. They tore our planet apart, bit by bit. But they made one mistake. They shouldn't have gone after our women.
Damn it. Why do they always take the hot ones? Right in the jewels. Rest in pieces. What? Did you think I was gone forever? Hell, I'd still hit it. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Coochie coochie. Hail to the king, baby.
What about the game, Duke? Was it any good?
Yeah, but after 12 years, it should be.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. They should have stuck with the original.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all for going back later and cleaning up the visuals, doing a remaster, doing a retooling. But it seems to me, based on the comparison of those two, that they refused to go with what would have been in keeping with the spirit of the franchise and absolutely over-the-top craziness in exchange for a little less over-the-top for cleaner visuals and a lot less variety, it looked like.
Well, here's the fun fact about this. This game was being developed and repackaged, then canceled, then redeveloped that even their own developers were being offered better deals at other companies. And then there was a somewhat civil war / revolt within their own company developing the game, that they had to minimize their workforce. And then it resulted in some of that workforce working nonstop around the clock, even at home.
Ooh, crunch.
Yeah.
You know, I have heard for years some of these horror stories about the kind of crunch that some of these programmers and developers run into. And it's weird for me because half the time I do feel really bad for these people.
Mm-hmm.
The other half of the time I think, well, you could have walked away.
Yep. As they should have, because that game should have never been born.
No, it should have. What they should have done is what Duke probably would have done with any number of those strippers who he probably impregnated after getting one night's love and a bad case of clap, which is hand it over to the clinic and have an abortion. Sorry.
Yeah.
Fuck.
My thing is, you know, a lot of people gripe about the humor of Duke Nukem. If you've never played a Duke Nukem game, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
That's all I'm going to say.
The toilet
The
humor is part
humor,
of it.
yeah, it's always been a part of it.
It's a sophomoric impulse. That's part of the
Mhm.
fun of the game is that
Well,
it's
that,
not-
and it's just like, you know, Duke Nukem's a dude. You
Right.
know, we're
it's-
dudes. We find that stuff funny.
Yes.
You know?
Even I do. Look, I as much as I sometimes, or much of the time, try to engage intellectually with the world,
Mhm.
I still have a dick. So there's a certain amount of
Right.
primal just.
And there
in
were
me.
critics that were talking about, well, Duke Nukem, you know, he objectifies women and does all this other garbage, and it's like, you're aware who Duke Nukem is, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
kind of part of the persona.
right.
That is part of the character.
I
and
mean,
look-
it's not like he's going and doing things non-consenting. You know, like the whole
Right.
point of his character, he's like a Johnny Bravo, but better.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, he's got the blonde. Oh my god, he's got the blonde hair and the sunglasses and everything.
Right. So,
Oh, mama. Here's the
right.
thing: Johnny Bravo never actually scored, though. Like that
No,
poor guy
he
struck
actually
out.
scored like Johnny Bravo
Yeah,
and killed aliens and kicked ass and chewed bubble
right.
gum.
Like
But-
Johnny, man, you should have modeled yourself off a Duke. Come on.
Right.
But that's part of the character. And look, I'm all in favor of character growth and development if
Mhm.
it makes sense. That doesn't make sense for Duke Nukem. The
Mhm.
whole drive of this character is I'm going to drink beer, I'm going to smoke cigars, I'm going to shoot aliens in the face in the pecker.
Wear
I'm gonna-
shades. Always
I'm
wearing the
gonna
shades.
I'm going to wear glasses even while I'm getting sucked off or peeing in a public toilet and then turning around and grabbing some
Or on an
pig-faced
alien.
Right. I'm going to grab the horns off of the front of the tusks on the front of some warthog-faced police alien thing, smash its face into a mirror, rape its dead body, and then go on about my business. That's Duke Nukem.
Yep.
Why fuck with it?
It's
Why not?
beyond me.
You know, I understand that people are going to get pearl clutching about that sort of thing. That doesn't make it go away. Those thoughts are
Right.
still in our fucking heads. I've got 6 kids. Do you think it was not a result of having enough sperm and testosterone coursing through my body to say, breed? No, that went through my head 6 times at least. All right.
Yep.
I may try again.
Hail
try
to the
most times
king,
to engage-
baby.
I try to engage with the world literarily, analytically, intellectually, but I still have the basic tenets of being a male member of the species. Just because I lose teeth in my face doesn't mean I lose testosterone out of my balls. I still have those urges to Fight, fuck, kill, eat, sleep.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, I
I
mean,
had
it's just like people lose sight of like what Duke Nukem was supposed to be, and like it's not meant to be taken serious. I mean, the game is
no,
well, I mean, the direction that they had for 2001 Forever, it had a somewhat serious,
right,
vibe
like
to it.
there were high stakes.
Yeah.
And you could tell from the dialogue of that GoldenEye N64 looking general that
Mhm.
the situation was dire. He, as a as a military individual, was trying to address Duke and inform him of the serious nature of the situation.
Mhm.
Sure,
That and crazy tentacled zombie alien
right.
parasites.
Looking at something that looks like it was a very early Gurod mode prototype of the critters from Dead Space.
Or the
That
thing.
right, that very much imbues a certain degree of holy shit. This is not just the little lizard reptile things or the warthog soldiers
And the
from
boars.
Duke Nukem 3D. All right, things have amped up. The threat is a little bit more serious.
Yeah, we're actually fighting EDF soldiers with parasites.
Right. That doesn't mean that you have to lean so hard into the grim core of it all that you lose the essence of the franchise that has long been established. You don't have to go completely off the deep end into, all right, Duke's had his fun and now he's going to be grim, gritty, serious. No. He's still going to say, can I kick it in the dick?
Pretty much. And that's the thing, is like it's like the critics that I was listening to from like the documentary of Duke Nukem Forever. It was like they expected it just be strictly just gameplay with Duke Nukem in it without humor of what we're used to. And it's like, then it wouldn't be a Duke Nukem game.
Right, I was gonna say, if you lose the essence,
You might as well just
character,
you might as well just
then
replace
it's like
the
the same
protagonist with like a serious character at that point. A serious character and a voiceless character, if that.
Right. I gotta turn the camera and mic off for a minute. I hit the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Yep. I don't want to talk too much about Duke Nukem Forever, but Randy Pitchford had been brought up, so it kind of comes with the territory of what happened when it comes to like Duke Nukem and things that Randy Pitchford was a part of. So I had to bring that up, but as far as that goes, we talked about the Borderlands movie and the flop that was, especially with Jack Black being a part of that as Claptrap, and is now, I guess, starring in a Minecraft movie, which
A Minecraft movie that the good folks over at Kotaku have already told us isn't for you.
Yeah. Well,
have they not learned their lesson yet?
I've played Minecraft before. Wasn't really my thing. I had a few things I did, like when I played with like my cousin, my friends, but
yeah,
I mostly played because they wanted me to play, but otherwise the game just wasn't my thing. I'm not really a big fan of like very, very pixelated stuff.
Whereas I generally tend to actually be a big fan of that sort of thing. But I never got much into Minecraft myself. My daughter plays it a ton. She loves creating buildings and structures and entire villages and stuff. But I've always viewed Minecraft as a digital, endless Lego collection set. That's really the biggest appeal of Minecraft. Is it allows kids and younger players and even older and adult players to basically perform gigantic pixel art projects. And in that regard, it's a gorgeous product. It's a gorgeous artistic tool set.
Yeah.
But I've never,
for what it is, for sure.
Right. I've never viewed it as an actual start to stop game. Perhaps that's just my perception. I could be wrong, but I've never viewed the property as something that would be appropriately fitting for adaptation to a film, let alone the fact that there have been all kinds of young adult and middle grade age books and stories developed out of the Minecraft property. Okay, not a big deal. I'm not part of the target audience for that. That's fine. They need their material too. I'm not going to bag on them for that. What I am going to bag on them for, however, is this attempt, it would seem, through outlets like Kotaku and IGN to tell people, hey, we are presenting this film adaptation based upon this extremely popular IP. And hey, just to let you know, the average gamer, we don't care what your input or thought is. We're not targeting this product at you. Okay, that's fine. We're not then going to buy tickets to see it. And if we do happen to see it, if we think it's garbage, we're going to let people know, hey, this thing is garbage. That's why when people watched Disney's Star Wars The Acolyte, they turned to their audiences and said, if you don't want to scoop your eyeballs out or have a hemorrhage because you're a longtime fan of this intellectual property, this franchise, this mythology, don't watch this thing because it will make you want to immediately find somebody driving a tractor trailer down the road and throw your foot under it as it rolls past at 80 miles an hour, because the intense pain and the complete cutting off of your leg will be less traumatic for you than watching this piece of shit and trying to grapple with the concept that this is what they want to make Star Wars canon. Fuck that. I'd rather cut a toe off of my foot with no pain medication and a rusty pair of garden shears.
Did you hear what the Critical Drinker did?
No.
The petition to decanonize the Acolyte?
No.
Yeah. And let's just say it's got a lot of signatures.
The only petition drive I've heard of recently, outside of there's a handful of stands that are trying to get the show renewed for season 2. They can go fuck themselves.
There's currently 21,774 signatures out of 25,000.
To try and get it renewed for season 2?
No,
Okay.
to decanonize it.
Oh, to decanonize. That needs more signatures. So I don't know how many viewers we have right now or how many people will pick up.
I'm going to post this in the chat here.
But people, if you are watching this show now or if you are watching it later, I
myself have signed that petition, by the way.
You need to find that. I'm going to go on that later on today, and I am going to go ahead and sign that signature. If there's room for comments, holy shit, I'm going to maximize the use of the comment section on that petition to let them know exactly why this needs to be ripped away and kept as far away from Star Wars as humanly possible.
You're in luck. There is a comment section. Reasons for signing.
Okay. I don't like just listening to critics and then forming my opinion based on just critics. I prefer to listen to them, take what they have said, and then if I have not yet seen the property or read the book or read the comic or played the game, I will bear in mind what they have said, and then I will try it myself.
Top supporter voices. Apparently you can sign in and share a video of why you feel the way you do.
Hosanna, manna from heaven. All right, I'm going to have to make a separate project out of this. I suffered through 3 episodes of The Acolyte.
Yeah, I didn't watch one episode. I couldn't do it.
I have a limited amount of time on this planet. When I die, if my faith proves out to be true, and I meet the big man after I'm gone, if he asks me, Josh, do you have any questions for me, my son? Yeah, can I get an hour and a half of my life back? Because that was horse shit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the big guy will probably bring up all the video games I stole when I was a teenager. But we're going to move on past that.
Yeah, no comment.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not going to say I stole, essentially, as in picked up an item such as a video game in my physical hands, but
Well, no, there was a kid.
I'll just say Yar Har Fiddle DD.
Oh, well, no, for me, it was actually physically. It was, there was this kid who we were friends with, like, his older brother. My brothers and I were friends with his older brother, but the younger brother was a snot-nosed piece of shit who gave me nothing but endless fucking trouble. And when my family was preparing to move from North Buffalo to the Southtown suburbs south of Buffalo, we went over to hang out with them the one day just as a kind of a farewell. I stuffed 3/4 of that kid's fucking PlayStation games in my backpack before we went home. Give me shit. You're going to pay for it. That was my thought process at the age of 13. I'm 42 years old. I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is well past.
To me, it just sounds like it was well deserved.
Look, this kid pissed on my head. All right. There was a day when I went to the bus stop to wait for the bus, and I looked around. It's like, where's Jacob? And I felt this trickling on my head, and I was like, what the fuck? I look up, and he's up in the tree branch pissing on my head.
God.
The only thing that kept me from, when he hopped down, grabbing his dick and ripping it off of his body physically, was the fact that the bus was 20 yards down the street coming towards us, and I would have got reported by the bus driver.
Man.
But
I can only imagine the smell during the red.
I wanted to tear this fucking kid apart. But my brothers kept telling me, don't do it. Don't do it. Just wait. You'll get a chance later. I never got my chance, but motherfucker, that last visit, I got mine. I can hold a grudge.
Yeah, I don't think my patience could keep me.
And Jacob Greenberry can hold nothing because I took almost all of his fucking games.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
That's how I got my first copy of Vagrant Story, man. It was a good game.
So, topic was, we were talking about Star Wars The Acolyte.
Yes. Why is anyone surprised that this thing failed? Same with,
I don't know.
Same with this game, Concord.
Oh my God.
How is anyone shocked that the pronoun police Rainbow Brigade of the gaming industry throws out their flagship title that they've apparently been working on for 8 years? And by the way, I read a little article this morning that, if true, will irritate me no end. Apparently, the team that developed Concord, they canceled a crossover project between Infamous and Prototype, 2 games that I absolutely adored when I played them. They canceled a crossover between those 2 franchises in order to work on this shit.
Why, though?
Are you kidding me? That's like saying, hey, I've got a chance to sit down. That would be like me saying, I've got a chance to sit down with the reincarnation or the raised spirit of Sir Terry Pratchett to discuss literature and fantasy and satire for an hour. Or I can reject that and instead go sit down with Kim Belair of Sweet Baby Inc. and let her lecture me for 15 minutes, and choosing that instead. It's like giving someone the choice between steak tartare and a McDouble from a McDonald's who's fried
That somebody stepped
you
on.
just watch pick his nose and flick it on your patty before saying bon appetit.
Then they ice skated on it on the dirty ass floor.
I wonder about SpongeBob sometimes. If he gets pissed off at someone, you think he does some shit?
I would imagine.
Taste my yellow sperm. Anyway.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there was a theory of Mr. Krabs serving everybody crab, considering crabs are cannibalistic by nature.
Cannibalistic and territorial.
Yep.
You never see any other crabs in Bikini Bottom, now, do you?
Nope. Never do.
What's the secret ingredient, crabs?
Somebody actually made like a story, like it was like an alternative story towards SpongeBob with Plankton and Mr. Krabs, where Plankton was actually the good guy. And it involves, Mr. Krabs being evil and whatnot. A psychopath. A very greedy psychopath.
I can see that being easily done.
Yeah. And he was like torturing SpongeBob.
Oh, Jesus.
And using parts of him as a secret ingredient.
Oh, God. Well, sponges regenerate, so that, again, makes a weird sixth sense.
Well, there was another story like that, too, with Patrick, where he was, multiplying and then, eating everybody. It was like this weird...
like a weird creepypasta?
Kind of, but it was a story, though. Where he was multiplying into, these, hive mind creatures, and the innards of the starfish, I guess, would basically, I'm trying to think how he said it. It was the insides are essentially how they eat. So it was this liquid digestive system that would shoot out of the starfish and into other living things.
Oh, almost like the goo from the Thing?
Kind of. But it was I forget, it was he was talking about how starfish actually eat. And it was pretty messed up.
Yes, because starfish are much like Amanita flies in that they don't ingest their food internally. They spit out a corrosive saliva that melts down and breaks down their food externally, and then they suck in the gloop.
Yep.
If I had to eat like that, put a bullet in my head. I'm sorry.
So he was eating SpongeBob at one point. He shoots the corrosive stuff into his mouth and eyes, and then starts sucking them up like a straw. It was some awesome kind of horror story of SpongeBob.
That's kind of neat.
But anyhow, getting sidetracked with Concord, and we were talking about Concord, and obviously that.
Dude,
let's not forget Sweet Baby Inc.
Let's bear in mind, we've managed to rope in Concord and Star Wars and SpongeBob all into the same conversation, so we're good.
Yeah. That, and I guess Sweet Baby Inc., if I'm not mistaken, they're the ones that are in charge of the Suicide Squad.
They consulted on it because what they label themselves as is a, quote, narrative consultancy group. The way that they set themselves up as a group who assists other game developers in ensuring that their narratives and their characters in their games are inclusive and representative and peace and love and rainbows and puppies. What they're really trying to do is enforce a DEI agenda, which is currently going through the process of being relabeled Bridge or just D and I instead of DEI. The problem with these people that they don't recognize is The technology advances, and so does our capacity to communicate with one another and to expose these fuckers for what they are. They are a cancer on the industry. Now, not everything they have touched has been utter dog shit. Let's be clear. They also consulted on God of War Ragnarok, which got a lot of praise and was apparently, I never played it myself. I don't have a PS4 or 5. But it was considered an excellent game. But they did consult regarding certain characters in the game. And I'm not, because I've never played it, I don't know what effect they had on it. But they were heavy in the influence on the development of Alan Wake 2. It is because of the input of Sweet Baby Inc. that the primary character you play as in Alan Wake 2 was changed. They changed the sex of the character from male to female. They changed the ethnicity from Asian American to African American. They changed they recommended changes to the lighting system. Recommended changes to secondary and auxiliary characters and their interactions with the primary character. In one of the opening scenes of the game, the lead character and her partner show up on scene to investigate some disappearances. And when they are approached by the local sheriff, the sheriff begins talking to the male partner. And that's when the lead character, she's like, "Excuse me, I'm actually the one in charge of this investigation." And the local sheriff goes, "Oh, sorry, I assumed." And he's got this really thick, kind of woodsy, hillbilly, good old boy accent.
Like a southern accent almost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really laying it on heavy that in the field of law enforcement, there's a good old boys club, and they need to learn that get with the times, and they're backwards and knuckle-dragging troglodytes. It's like, do you fucking people not understand? You're trying to couch this game in a semi-realistic world setting based upon or predicated upon our real law enforcement environment. Yes, it's fiction, but you're trying to predicate it upon basic precepts and a priori understandings that the gameplay will reflect the real world. Guess who makes up 85 to 90% of lead detectives and homicide detectives in both federal law enforcement and state and local law enforcement? Men!
Mm-hmm.
The expectation should not be glowered at or, hi, buddy, looked down upon as some oddment. That would be the norm. And for this guy to feel so shamefaced and suddenly be demure and defer to this woman, first of all, apparently you don't understand the ongoing and almost eternal struggle. Could you turn that down, buddy? Between the state and federal enforcement agencies. These people have pissing contests of the sort that you could only really... Whoa, not in my face. You can only really... Not in my face. Give me a moment. I got to deal with this.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from as far as that goes. You know,
yeah,
it's very unrealistic in the sense of like, it's like they're trying to essentially pick out the masculine, like, I guess it's like a masculine perception of, oh, well, obviously he would assume.
Right. They want to tear down expectations and archetypes, yet they say they also want to couch it in a high degree of realism. You can't have it both ways.
It's like want to bring in a stereotype.
Right. If you want to portray it as realistic, then you need to adhere to the reality. And don't use the cop-out of fiction. I'm sorry, but you just spent the last year and a half of promotional and marketing time to tell us how realistic the game is. Now you're going to use the cop-out of it's fiction. Get over it. No, fuck you. If you spend half your time marketing, tell us to expect a realistic portrayal. Don't be shocked when we say, bitch, that's not realistic.
All right, that, and it's kind of like, okay, you want realistic, but then you say it's fictional, but then you get mad at a realistic take and what would normally happen.
Exactly.
You can't have it both ways. I'm sorry.
It's a catch-22.
Mhm.
That it's heads I win, tails you lose.
For sure. And it's just, yeah. Yeah. I don't really know too much about Sweet Baby Inc. I just knew like what was it? The Suicide Squad, it's like Suicide Squad killing the Justice League. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, apparently Rocksteady had laid off a bunch of people due to their horrible success rate. So from what I see is the company's quality assurance department has seen its size almost cut in half over the past month, from 33 team members to 15.
Yep.
Which is bad.
This is the problem with Rocksteady as a development studio with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. There's a couple of issues. For starters, who was asking for this game?
Nobody.
Anybody? I'm looking around. No one I know. I don't know a whole lot of DC Comics fans who are diehards of the Suicide Squad who also want to see them go up against and win against the Justice League. Even diehard fans recognize they'd get destroyed if they went head-to-head with the entirety of the Justice League. So this is kind of weird. Secondly, they come right out early in the development cycle of the game and say this is based on an Elseworlds property. So it's the Suicide Squad in an alternate reality. It's not the same reality that most DC comics take place within. It's in one of the alternate realities that the Elseworlds franchise, which is kind of DC's answer to Marvel's What If series. That's what Elseworlds is to DC.
Mm-hmm.
So we are established early on that, look, this is not canon to the Suicide Squad or the Justice League. But what we're going to do is we're going to put together a scenario that nobody asked for in a live service game that nobody asked for, which is a type of game that this team has never made before. And oh, by the way, most of the people who worked on developing the amazing Arkham games that gave Rocksteady its reputation over the last 8 to 10 years, oh yeah, 3/4 of them don't work here anymore.
Yeah.
The core team that built the Batman Arkham game had already been long gone. So you had a bunch of people who did not have the experience of working on those prior games are working on this live service game centered in an alternate reality DC setting centered on the Suicide Squad. Who asked for this?
Yeah, especially the fact of a live service game, which can be a good thing, but it can also be a very bad thing too.
Very bad. You know,
it can be a good thing because games like Helldivers 2, which was a good thing for a while until they started nerfing it into the ground and nobody wants to play it.
They nerfed it and they shot themselves in the foot.
And the stuff they did with Sony, where people can't even play the game that they bought because they're in a different country.
Right. Like that was, I don't understand the decision there. But
I've not touched Helldivers in a long time. I've been hoping that they would just, like turn back the dial a little bit and try to like bring back everything the way it was, where weapons were actually effective and not BB guns to bugs or robots.
The issue with a lot of that sort of thing is once developers and engineers within these game companies, once they go to a certain, once they cross a certain line, they almost never go back past beyond it to return things to the state they were at when it was functional. Because
maybe not now, but I was hoping, later on down the line, I would hear, hey, they fixed things and we're okay. We can play the game now. Won't have to worry about it. I mean, for crying out loud, it's a fucking PvE game. Like,
you want to hold out hope for that sort of thing.
But my whole point is, it's a fucking PvE game. Why are we worried about nerfing anything? It's not against anybody's, like, disadvantage. Like, you're not shooting other players. Like, you're shooting bugs and robots and hanging out with your buddies.
Right. It's you're enjoying a cooperative game experience against computer-controlled enemies. That should be something that could bring a lot of gamers who enjoy that style of gameplay together.
Right.
So why tamper with it and make it
There's no need to balance it, though. I mean, maybe to a degree of not being overly powered, but, like, you don't have to be, like, hammered down into the ground to no return and can't even recover on your own. Like, to me, that's... Nobody wants to play that.
No, which makes me wonder, like, were they trying to inch their way towards, like, microtransactions and, like, were they working on maybe, hey...
With the war bonds... Yeah.
Right. Like, if you spend $5, you can boost the damage output for rifle types X, Y, or Z. Was that what they were aiming towards? And did they just implement it really piss poorly?
Well, I've never seen anything like that, but, like, I've seen the war bonds and, like, the currency in the game that you could buy stuff with for, like, the different cosmetics.
Yeah.
But, like, the war bonds you had to buy as well, which were, like, additional DLC for, like, new weapons, armor, and all that. But you had to still unlock them.
Right.
But the thing is, though, like, what's the point of me paying money for things that aren't going to work?
Right. You're shoveling good money after bad. Now, not to be doom and gloom, we here, Brother Cortex and I, are not trying to be doom and gloom about the state of entertainment. There's just a whole lot of things that are not great.
Not good.
As they currently stand. I fully expect that the AAA market in terms of video games, with things like Concord and Dustborn and Helldivers and everything kind of spiraling down the drain, I fully expect the top tier elite development and production studios that have basically dominated the marketplace for the last 10 to 15 years to start going the way of the dodo. They're going to begin consolidating, much as I see the streaming services that are falling off are going to begin consolidating. I actually had written an essay for Howard Bloom Institute 2 years ago, predicting that the streaming wars were going to start collapsing in and coming to an end within a few years. And we're already looking at that happening with Paramount Plus trying to get sold off to either Warner Brothers to be folded into HBO Max, or they're trying to also talk to the folks at Netflix to maybe start licensing material back to them so that they can get the hell out and cut their losses. We're already seeing this happen. Yet at the same time, Paramount is, hi buddy, developing brand new property for their streaming service. Why? So that they can package it when they try to sell off the service to another streaming outlet. So that they can say, hey, we already have built-in value. We already have something in production that you can utilize to hook in or maintain your current subscriber base. They're already starting to collapse. Even the infinite money glitch company known as Apple is starting to consider that their Apple TV project is a complete and utter failure. nobody's paying for Apple TV on its own as a separate service. They're getting it bundled with their Apple iPhones when they have to either upgrade to a new phone, turn in their damaged one for insurance. They're getting promotional deals. Hey, sign up for the new phone or get the new phone, and for an extra $2 a month, we'll throw in Apple TV. So we can count you as a subscriber because holy shit, it's a failure. These people are praying to the gods of failure at this point. And Cthulhu Rylea, Cthulhu Fatagan, holy shit, they're failing all over. Could you get your foot out of my face, bud? What are you doing, you goober? Yeah, you think that's funny until you get tickled. Sorry. He doesn't like it when I tickle his feet.
I don't think a lot of people do.
No. I mean, it's funny sometimes, but most of the time he's like, bitch, get off me. Especially
my whole thing was earlier, like it had a lot to do with the live service idea with games anymore. Like I was bringing up Helldivers, we were talking about that. Games like Battlefield 3 recently, not too long ago, EA announced that they were taking the multiplayer servers down for Battlefield 3. So that's another example of a live service game getting shut down, doors closed. Right. Thank you for playing. Time's come, it's the end.
And that makes me wonder how many games like that are going to have dedicated enough players who are going to try to set up their own internal servers.
It's funny you say that, because the game for Resident Evil Outbreak back in the day when it came out, when the servers were about to get shut down for that, there was a dedicated fan base that played the game enough that had taken the server files. I forget how they did it, but essentially what they said was obtaining the files was like hitting the lottery, and they almost didn't succeed. But they managed to get the files and set up the server. It now has a Discord community, still playing it to this day. I'm a part of it. So,
dude, that's cool.
Yeah, it definitely goes to show that if players care enough, they'll keep these games alive, with or without the company.
Right. Why? I don't understand the legalities. So maybe, or the technicalities. And I'm hoping you, being much more in depth. As far as what exactly is the legal prohibition against a game company offering to sell the server data or server files to a player group that's dedicated to a specific title if they want to keep it alive or around for themselves? Is there a mechanism for purchasing those files from the company if they decide to shut it down?
I'm sure there is, but because we know how companies sort of do their thing anymore, I feel like they're just going to be greedy and keep it to themselves and lock it away in a vault.
Right, but
it doesn't make sense, I know.
No, that makes no sense to me, because then it's just going to molder away and eventually vanish completely altogether.
I think it has a lot to do with just due to the fact that they own the rights to it, and they're like, well, it's ours. We're going to do with it what we want. Well,
okay.
Players kind of revolt to it, and they're like, well, you're not taking this from us.
Okay.
And they do their own thing and take it back and liberate it.
I can certainly appreciate that there are...
The legality, though, of it, I have no idea.
Right. I appreciate that there are fans, and I appreciate that the companies that create these games have both a profit incentive, but they also have a creative incentive, perhaps from the developers and designers of the game, who are like, well, wait a minute, if this project, this piece of my work and effort is no longer available through its primary source, I want to make it go away. If they created the project, I would give them more credence than someone who just distributes the project.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like I said, when it comes to these companies, man, it's crazy what they do with like a lot of these really legendary titles. They'll take it and they'll throw it up for a while and then take it back and be like, "Nope, sorry, we're shutting the door. Thanks for thanks for sticking by, but we no longer need your money for this particular project, but please enjoy our dog shit we shoveled to you today."
Yeah. Kind of maximizing the profit for minimal effort.
Yeah.
That is, though, like that's something I'd like to look into, like find out a little bit more about if there are companies out there that would be willing to license or sell the server files to a dedicated group.
Yeah, I mean, props to the companies if they do that, but it's very unlikely.
And unfortunately, I imagine you're right. You're absolutely right there.
Because like a lot of that has to come down to like fan like devotion of just keeping it alive. And it's unfortunate because like games like that, if I buy a game, I should be able to play it whenever I want. That's my own opinion.
Right, especially if it's a physical copy. Digital or physical. I don't care what the format is. If you pay full purchase price, you should have full purchase access to your purchased good or item. Period.
Absolutely. Like there was this MMO that used to be on, online for a while, and then they turned into like a single player game, but it was an MMO. It still got the MMO user interface and all that. But it was called give me 1 second. I got it in my game list here. Hellgate London.
Oh, well,
dude, I actually played that game.
Well, you can now get it as a single player game and still play it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Dude, that's kind of awesome.
It is currently $12.99 on Steam.
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
So games like that, I mean, I think are absolutely awesome. Like, the fact that the company would even do that, it speaks volumes, because if you enjoyed the game, you should still be able to play it, which is why I have the utmost respect for the Forever Winter team, which, by the way, they're doing early access September 24th. And they themselves have even said, because like they mentioned like EA shutting down their Battlefield 3 servers and stuff. Well, the way they're going to do their game is, even if they do happen to shut servers down or whatever the case may be, at any given time, you'll still be able to jump in the game and play with your friends or whatever. And, like even that plus, like they were like saying, like when it comes to their game, if you want to support them more than their retail price that they're giving off, you're more than welcome to, and it's awesome, but not, like you don't have to. And they're selling their game for like, I think it was like $27.
Oh.
And they said like, when it comes to like DLC and stuff with new guns and characters, what you buy is what you get. There's no microtransactions, nothing.
That's pretty awesome.
Specifically quoted the quote they had said, everything that comes to that, like as far as like, buying extra guns or new characters, all that stuff, that nickel and diming shit is for the birds. That was their own words. Now, dude, I had absolutely the most respect ever for them. So I'm like, dude, I've not heard anybody say like anything remotely close to that in a long time.
No, because so many games these days. Look, again, I'm going to sound like an old man when I say this. Back in my day, oh Lord, even saying that ages me. But I remember a time before there was such a thing as DLC. When you purchased a game,
Yep.
the entire thing was there on the disc or cartridge.
Oh, you
That's
mean when
it.
they used to call it an expansion?
Yeah, expansions.
Mm-hmm.
An expansion was exactly that. It was extra stuff.
Trust
that
me,
they-
I'm feeling the age too, my guy. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
first game I played that I remember being really excited that there was an expansion pack for was the Elder Scrolls 3 Blood Moon. We added on to the standard Morrowind game.
Mm-hmm.
I was psyched for that. And at the time, I had Morrowind on my original Xbox. But you could purchase a disc with Blood Moon on it that you would put in your Xbox. You would close the drive and you could install the Blood Moon expansion onto the Xbox memory drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you played Morrowind, before you started playing, it would load in all of those extra assets and what have you, so that they could be carried over into the main game, into the primary game. It was, at the time, sold on a separate disc. It was $15 to get that expansion pack. I happily paid it. But it wasn't necessary. And if you played the original game, it wasn't ruined by the fact that this expansion was out there if you couldn't get it and play it. It was just something extra. Now, the last game I remember purchasing and buying when I was younger that did not have expanded material on it was for my PlayStation 2 when I got Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3. 2 years later, they come out with like a director's cut version of the game called Persona 3 FES, which included an entire second storyline. It was a whole new purchase, but Atlas was smart in that when they released Persona 3 FES, the original Persona 3 on the PS2, when it first released, was $35 at EB, Electronics Boutique, back when it was called that. I remember this.
I remember EB.
It came out, and here's the fucked up thing. When I went out and got the game, the original version, it came out the same week as Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
I think that's the only Grand Theft Auto I never played. I mean, I played it briefly, but I never played it all the way through.
Now, when I went into EB, there were lines. There were people just scouring, trying to get a copy of San Andreas before it was sold out. I would just zip between people, and they were like, "Hey, no cutting." I'm like, "I'm not looking for your game." And they had 5 copies of Persona 3 sitting there. I nabbed one, and there was a clerk who was like, "Are you here for San?" "No, I'm here for this." I held it up. He's like, "Come over here." He rang me out, and I was out the fucking door in 4 minutes. It was great.
Yeah.
But FES came out a couple years later. The retail price, $20 for a, quote, brand new release. Why only $20? Because Atlas approached the game, the FES, from the perspective of most people who want to play this have already paid the full price for the original storyline.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to soak them for even more money when all we had to do was patch in an extra storyline, which didn't even fill up the disc. It was still all fit on a single Blu-ray. They didn't even change the cover art except for the outer packaging. The instruction manual, all the same art, all the same artwork. They just added in a single mailer card they slipped in behind the instruction manual with a brief bio or a synopsis of the FES storyline. So it didn't cost them any extra printing cost. It didn't cost them any extra distribution mailing cost. They took the savings and passed it on to the people who wanted to buy and play this director's cut edition of Persona 3 because they understood their player base, their fan base.
Right.
Nowadays, fucking forget it.
Well, like I said before, when it comes to these games anymore, man, like the whole live service thing, it's such a blessing and a curse because you don't know how the company's going to handle that or what they're going to do with that.
Right. You don't know what direction that's going to go in.
No. And it could be a very good thing, for all you know, but it could also be a very bad thing. It could be, like I said, you're playing the game one day and then they announce, oh, well, we're shutting it down. You can no longer play it.
Right, and then you're shit out of luck, like all the people who bought Payback.
And then you got to find some weird unofficial patch that patches the game from not doing that with a community that still wants the game to come back and still be a thing. Like, to me, don't get me wrong, it's great that communities do that, but it's like with all like the cease and desist orders and everything that go on nowadays. Like, okay, another example of that would be like, I believe it was called SM2 for Call of Duty. So these guys had made a mod for Modern Warfare 2 Call of Duty. It's called SM2, like SM squared. And
right.
It had a bunch of like collective like weapons, skins, stuff from different games, all meshed into one game. Like the best of everything into one game, basically. And it looked really good. They were doing really great with it. Well, they weren't making any money. It was going to be a free thing. And then all of a sudden, they got hit with a cease and desist order and were told to shut it down by Activision.
Of course they were, because Activision wasn't getting their cut.
Well, that's part of it. But do you know what the real reason was? It was too close to the release of Black Ops 6. And they were afraid that people would play that instead of playing Black Ops 6.
Right, they were afraid it would cut into their new product.
Yep.
Shitty. Shitty. Yep. It's shitty for me, especially because I understand the business aspect thought process.
I get it, but if
I don't like it,
making money from doing it and it's all labor from the love of the game that they like to play,
right?
Why are you bothering them with it?
They're also, and this is why I understand their mindset, but I can argue against it because they sent out that cease and desist predicated upon a trying to prove a negative, which Socratically you cannot do. You can't prove before anything has happened that the presence of that game will ergo negatively affect the sales of your new game.
Even then, think about it like this nowadays. Games are cross-play anymore. At least most that are coming out anymore cross-play. What does that mean? It means I could play that game on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, or any other platform that supports me playing that game. Meaning it's usually across the board. Any of those platforms I can play with my buddies from other platforms on the current platform that I have in opposition towards platforms.
Right, because the interface is agnostic.
Mm-hmm. So, like, my thing is there's really no excuse for it because everybody that have different, like, they have all the different consoles and PCs and whatnot. You can't sit there and honestly tell me that you're going to lose money. You just can't.
No.
At least not enough that it's going to make an impact.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, they're trying to prove a negative. They're trying to do the James Randi experiment, which the James Randi reindeer experiment. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm going to hop off here soon. I'm going to give you a quick, brief overview. This was hilarious. The guy's name was James Randi. He's a philosopher of mathematics and logic theory. And this was like something he put out on YouTube like 13, 14 years ago. He said, you can't prove a negative. What you can do is you can prove a statistical likelihood. Let's take, for example, the statement, reindeer can't fly. Well, you can't prove that just on its own. But you can say it is statistically probably impossible or extremely unlikely because we've never observed it. The only way you can prove a assertion is to test it. And who wants to actually take 100 reindeer up to a rooftop, throw them overboard to see how many of them will actually fucking fly?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that analogy.
Yeah,
but my thing is, my thing is, in it being like a realistic, sense, like when it comes to a mod versus a AAA game being released, especially in this case, the amount of people that would be playing SM2, it'd probably be a lot, but it wouldn't be anywhere near enough that people would stop playing the main stream title over a mod that was developed by a smaller team. Like, I'm sorry, it's not comparable by any means.
And there's no guarantee that you're going to end up getting any crossover audience. You may very well have most of the people who are playing that SM2, they could very well be diehards who never would have purchased your Modern Warfare or your Black Ops 6 to begin with. You're not actually guaranteeing yourself any additional sales. You're basically just telling this group of really dedicated fans, fuck you, we don't care about you.
Pretty much. And then it's garbage. That is honestly the biggest garbage, like practice ever when it comes to that. It's like you're just telling your fans, oh, we don't care. Play our game instead.
Give me money. Give me money.
Give me money. Give me money so you can buy our microtransactions.
Money, please.
Yep.
To paraphrase Jeremy of the Quartering. Money, please.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It's sad to see things like that.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be like that.
No. There are a couple of quick pointers or things that I've recently learned of that are upticks, that are positive developments in the video game space. I was very impressed with what I saw when you were streaming
Space Marine 2.
Space Marine 2 yesterday. Mm-hmm. That looks gorgeous. There is the absolute cultural victory of the success of Black Myth Wukong, which
I have heard that
looks like a beautiful game.
I do plan on playing that at some point.
Yeah. There was the mixed reaction or reception to Shadow of the Urge Tree, but overall, that
I still haven't been able to play that yet.
It did look like overall there was some excellent lore built onto an already fascinating mythology in that realm. So there have been upticks and victories in the video game space. It's not all gloom and doom and dire.
No.
There are positive things.
The only thing I'm going to say is, like when it comes to AAA titles, there are still, shining like glimpses of hope, like when it comes to that, but like if you really want like more hope, if anything, I would stick to indie titles because they actually get it.
The indie scene, I'll tell you, this is one of the only reasons why I'm still on Twitter/X is I have been seeing a lot of indie developers like showcasing their games on there. And these games are coming out at a price tag of like between $15 to $25. And even though I don't have the disposable income to just go out and get those, when I do have a little bit of spare scratch here and there, I'm going to pick up some of these games because they look fun. Absolutely fun. There's one called Panzer Paladin that just got updated. So now it's available on Xbox, which is the current gen system that I have. Otherwise, I'm mostly retro gaming these days. But it looks like a weird mix of The Legend of Zelda and Mega Man X. It looks really enjoyable, challenging, but just fun. And that's what I want from a game, is for it to be entertaining. There's absolutely no story from the looks of it. But sometimes I don't need a story. I just want a fun game experience.
I was just going to say, there was an indie game that I played not too long ago called Vladic Brutal. And I had a very, very good time with it. I'm still got to play and finish it. But the little time that I did play it, you know what really like stood out compared to other games?
What's that?
And it's the simplest thing ever. Just take a guess. It's an FPS game.
I really couldn't say.
The fact that it is very simple and it knows it's a game. It is simple,
Meaning what?
very enjoyable. Doesn't have to overcomplicate the plot of the game. It is simple. Kill your target and move to the next level or next area. It's got really, really good gore, really good weapon choice, really good enemy variety. I don't exactly understand the story yet, but I mean, I kind of do, kind of don't. It's kind of like a Slavic Half-Life, if you will. But the fact of the matter is, it's simple. It sticks to what it is, and that is a game. Pure and simple.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you, the last game that was on
And it blew me away.
A more modern, not even modern by today's standards, system that I no longer have a copy of it, but I had a copy for a little while of Splatterhouse for the Xbox 360.
I think Splatterhouse is on Steam.
Dude,
if it's either on Steam or it's on GOG.
That game, and this was a 3D Splatterhouse. It's a 3D brawler. And
I'm aware of Splatterhouse.
Gory, it's
very
vicious, and it doesn't take itself very seriously at all.
Neither does Vladic Brutal. It was very simple.
Yeah, just the story for Splatterhouse, like there's one cinematic in the beginning. It's like all of 4 or 5 minutes long. You're basically told, in order to remove the curse of unlife on yourself, you must kill them all. That's it. You're unleashed then to wreak unholy undead vengeance on everything in sight. That's it. It's simple. It's gorgeous. And there's the need to come back to some of that simplicity. I think that's part of what has drawn me back to a lot of retro games. Like, I love my RPGs, but when it comes to my retro gaming, there's only 2 retro RPGs that I've been playing much at all lately. Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, because it's awesome. It always will be. I'm loving that. And Secret of Evermore. These are both Super Nintendo games. I'm not even dipping or diving into like Wild Arms or Suikoden.
Splatterhouse is on GOG.
Ah.
I'm looking at it right now.
How much do they want for it?
For Splatterhouse, they want. Give me 1 second here. Let's see. I had to go back and look through a different search bar here. Hold up.
Oh.
But I'm looking at it. They got Splatterhouse 1, 2, and 3. Splatterhouse 3D as well. Trying to get to where they're selling it, but it's on here. Oh. Hang on a second.
Sure.
What the hell? As much as I love GOG, sometimes it can be a pain when I'm trying to look for games. But they have a very big catalog of games. Wait, what the hell? Wait a minute. Okay, that's kind of weird. Maybe GOG doesn't have it. It showed it like it did have it, but like it was asking me if I wanted to link it to my account by like the executable file, but I don't have it. Hold on. Maybe I can do this real quick. I got a website called Abandonware, which is old video games that nobody cares about anymore, and you can download for free.
Oh, nice.
It's just pretty much games that have been tossed aside, and you can play them whenever you want. Yeah. So Abandonware has Splatterhouse 1, 2, and 3.
Nice. But anywho, brother, I have got to get running here.
All good, man.
I got 20% battery left on the laptop here, and I got to get little girl up from her nap. Thought I heard her a minute ago. That's why I was just like, do I hear her? Not quite yet, but she's got to get up soon. But anywho, brother, do we have an idea, or will we just discuss it as we go towards next Wednesday?
Well, I think we're both going to be in for a treat next Wednesday.
Oh.
Kane Pixels is going to be releasing another Backrooms video.
Ah. Okay. Okay.
It is found footage number 3.
When does that drop?
If I'm not mistaken, today.
Aha. Okay. Okay. So we've already got our program set then.
Yep. Give
Because
me
that
1 second here.
That was like the foundational deep dive for us was the back rooms.
Yep. I know I've seen it here. Hold on.
Sure thing.
What the fuck? Hold on. Now I don't see it now. I know I've seen it. So I was looking at the page. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Oh, the video is private.
Uh-oh.
That is interesting. Maybe they're going to put it out again.
Possibly. I am showing
Because
here that there is a possible re-release
this is
for
what I got right
PS5.
here on my phone. And it's from Kane Pixels.
It'll be good to go back to game.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. It says the video is private. So, because Kane Pixels put out a community post 6 days ago, and then it's what looks like a VHS video recording.
Okay, do you think he's like waiting to premiere it?
Maybe, or he's teasing it in some case.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Hopefully,
something
it
about
will.
this.
Yeah, this may be like a diving setup.
Yeah,
for people like to start diving in ahead of time.
I'm looking at the comments right now. 7 minutes ago, what happened with A24 again, bro? This person said it vanished. Where's the premiere? I'm guessing this is a spoiler for Found Footage 3. So it's definitely coming back, but for whatever reason, it was taken down.
I'm sure we will have access to it soon.
I'm hoping so. I'd hope by Wednesday.
Yeah. You know.
If not, we'll have a backup plan. We'll figure that.
I would say we'll figure out a backup plan before then.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that's what we'll be able to cover.
Well, ladies and gentlemen from Brother Cortex and Byronofsidius, we would like to thank you for once again joining us for a long overdue Culling of the Nerd.
Very long overdue.
And we are very much looking forward to being a couple of, well, geeks and diehards in diving into the obscure, the paranormal, the supernatural, the bizarre, the strange, the peculiar.
Always a pleasure.
Right here.
All right, guys. Well, if you guys like what you saw, please drop a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. But until then, guys, we will see you all later.
Cheers.
We're out of here.